All right, so we're live. I'm joined today with Cory, the pool guy. He's been doing the pool guy thing. Cory, do you like building pools?
Pretty fun. It's hot. It's hot outside.
That's all. Of course it's hot outside. If anything doing outside, I'm saying like what's unique about pools that you like and you dislike. Don't say anything about me. What do you think? It's easy, right? It's pretty easy. Like, it's not mentally challenging. I'm not sure what kind of jobs you had beforehand. So if you work with me, we talk about monetary reform, and so far, Cory and his buddy that builds pools, roughly the same age. So you're 18, and I talk about monetary reform all the time, and don't you think it's a pretty interesting topic? Isn't it? Like, is it like if this was a class that you could pay to take in, like, toward a college degree? Because that's what it is. Like college, you got to pay for it. In high school, they force you, right?
So if you have to learn high school.
Right. So the way I describe the system, do you see how we're being punked right now? Do you know what I mean? That's it. Don't you see? It's just mass delusion that we're all chasing these magic pieces of paper, right? They call that in the Bible. They call that idolatry because they're dead, right? A piece of paper and the digits, they can't hear, they can't see, they can't speak. But these pieces of paper have this rule, has this power over our lives. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it controls us.
Well, that's what it, have you heard the word idolatry from church?
Yeah.
Right, you tell me what idolatry is.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, idolatry is when you take something that's not living, like a piece of paper, and you animate it so that it has power over people. You see what I mean? It's like witchcraft. You see that? It's like sorcery. Right, like if you watched, for your age, like what's like the show with the young guy and they're like in England and flying around on broomsticks or whatever, right? Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about. Like if you had a magic wand, you could say abracadabra, and you'd say this piece of paper now has the power to rule over you. It will make you go to work. It will determine who you marry. Right? For women, I'm telling you, like, here's the inside skinny. Women don't marry homeless guys. True or false? If they're looking for a guy, he's really tall, dark, handsome, he's like looks athletic, but then she finds out that he's homeless. Right. You got to speak louder, man. She's not going to marry him. That's what he said. Right?
She's not gonna marry him.
Well, why? Because he doesn't
homeless.
have the magic pieces of paper.
Yeah. Doesn't have any money.
Right. This is pretty important stuff, isn't it? Alternatively, if his last name is Rothschild or Rockefeller or Warburg or J.P. Morgan, these are all like the top bankers in history. Right? Schiff, right? These are literally guys, they monetize the money, they control the money system, and they promote communism, they promote Hitler, they promote all these boogeymen, they get everybody fighting each other, you know what I mean? You know what Spy versus Spy is? It's like a comic strip.
I've never heard of that before.
I'm way older than you, man. Like, I gotta use younger references. So my point is, in Harry Potter, they have the ability with sorcery to take a dead thing so that it has power over people, right? That's what it means. That's what idolatry is. So when I was saying to you earlier, like so within this mass delusion, the sorcerers or the high priests of the Babylonian system, they're like priests. And they teach that level of sorcery to their children because they teach their kids how to issue money. right? I mean, true or false? You got to sound off. Yes?
Yes.
Right? Did your parents, like when you went to high school, did they teach you how to issue money?
Yeah, they taught us.
They did. They taught you how to issue money.
Wait, no, they didn't teach us that. No.
Come on, man, help me out. They did not teach you. I know they when you go to college, by the way, they still don't teach you. If you go to seminary school, they don't teach you. There's no university, there's nowhere that teaches you how to issue money. Right? Even if you go become a bank employee, they don't really teach you it.
Right.
They don't really, because you got to get authority from some higher up. And when you keep climbing that tree of authority as to who, you're going to come up to a high Jewish priest, and he's the one that they're the head of the snake. And all of it, by the way, all of this is in the Bible. All of this. And you tell me how the Bible is boring. I'm like, dude, you don't understand. It's all about this battle between these serpents, right? And dragons. And the serpents and the dragons are the ones. You ever play Zelda? It's a video game. Zelda, yeah. So in old lore, what you would have, or think of like Shrek, right? You had a princess, and she was in the highest room in the tallest tower, and there's a dragon that protects the virgin, and the dragon also is sitting on a pot of gold, right? Because those are all connected. The power structure, the big thing that we need to fight, that's how you get the girl, and then that's how you bring abundance back to your people. Because you come back with the gold and the girl, and you've slain the dragon, and that's how you become a hero. And that's called a hero's journey, right? So you go from being zero. You can be a complete zero and nobody. But if you go beat the dragon, no matter how tall you are, no matter how, what your academic background is, no matter what your religion, no matter what, none of that matters if you go beat the dragon. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a big thing. And the dragon is actually these high priests who have monopolized the issuance of money for thousands of years. And there was a whole war in Europe between the Christians and the Jews over this thing called usury. And that usury is what, once you have the money, then you lend it to everybody. And then once you can lend it, now they all got to pay you to rent that money, right? But like today, it's just pieces of paper, right? So when you pay a credit card, you pay an interest, right? If you're carrying a balance. So like if you look around everywhere, like that building's got a mortgage, that building's got a mortgage, that building. So everybody, because these high priests of finance have gotten control of the money system, they've created, like in every city, the tallest building is a bank building. However, that no banker built that building.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Right? Think how backward that is. Right? So all they're doing is punking us. They're just punking us. And I'm here to ask you, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Or because if you don't do anything about it, that means you like being punked. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because you're not doing anything about it. You just, that's how, I guess that's how it has to always be. Right? But things can change, just like slavery, right? All this is a highly innovated form of slavery. Right? They just did, back in the old days, they'd have Pharaoh, and he'd be kicking it up on a platform, right? He's in the shade, right? A bunch of, girls half dressed all around him, just like, and they're like waving a palm. No, they're ostrich feathers, right? They're just, you know what I'm talking about? And he's just kicking it. He's got his hat on, like, hey, I'm the king. I need more bricks. I'm building a new library over there. Keep at it. We up the production. This is all from Exodus, and right now is the time of Exodus. In fact, Passover So when Jesus was observing Passover in the Bible, he was observing a people who were enslaved under this Egyptian thing where there's one dude and he makes the laws, and going to take your kids and they're going to take your wife and you're going to be homeless, right? Well, isn't that what happens today? Like, what's different? It's the same thing. The ancient Israelites were bond servants. A bond servant is a debt slave, right? So the history of the Bible history is the history of getting out of debt slavery. Because this isn't, you know what I mean? You work today. Why did you work today?
Because I had to get up and work.
Oh, come on, dude. You needed money.
But yeah, I needed money too.
Right. If I wasn't going to pay you today, you wouldn't have showed up today. Right? You're here for the magic pieces of paper. But here's the deal. They're just pieces of paper and they're just digits. Right? So if you go online, like if you pay for Uber, that's just digital money. You and I have just as much authority and power to issue money as they do. Do you know that? In fact, we have more authority to issue money than they do. Do you know why? Because the Bible says so. Because the guys that are issuing the money now, they've built a hierarchy which is based upon might makes right. Do you know what I mean? And their authority is whoever has the biggest tanks and guns, whoever has the biggest biceps and boobs, the biggest bank accounts and biggest cars, within their system, everything's based upon the physical, right? That's why chicks are buying big fat fake lips and big fat fake boobs and big fat fake butts, is because everything's based upon the physical. Well, the King of Creation says, no, no, no. The true authority is based upon the spiritual. That who is supposed to rule. And the spiritually minded who don't, you couldn't get me to work at a bank for $1 million a year. You know what I mean? Because I'd have to completely abandon everything that I care about, including my own self-respect, especially my own self-respect. Because I would have sold out and taken 30 pieces of silver just like Judas did. Right? I'd have to betray my convictions because my mission is to make sure that my own son doesn't get raised in this slave system. Right? Don't you think if you're a dad, shouldn't as a dad that it's my responsibility that he doesn't get raised as a slave?
Right.
Right? Like if there's a hierarchy of essential priorities, if you had a child, right? What would be the hierarchy, the top 3 things that you would want to make sure didn't happen to your child? Right? You don't want them to die.
Right.
Right? That's what they do now. Right? Of course you don't want your child to die, of course. Except they still kill them through abortion. They kill babies through... I killed 3 of my own children through abortion. Right? That's evil. So you face the consequences, and Yah will give you judgment, even though Babylon says it's just okay. And no matter how many millions and billions of people do it, it doesn't make it okay. And that's why there's this mad delusion. That's why the world is so far upside down.